Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Thursday, May 18th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. Big doings out at Arrowhead Stadium today, not for the Chiefs, but the World Cup coming to the stadium in 3 years. Missouri Governor Mike Parson, Kansas Governor Laura Kelly, and KC Mayor Quinton Lucas were among those who spoke at the press conference to announce a board of directors, a new logo, and other steps forward in the process leading up to the 2026 event. The biggest news was provided by Quinton Lucas, who spoke about a new transit system to make things easier getting to the airport and Arrowhead from downtown. You'll hear from Lucas and Chiefs Chairman and CEO Clark Hunt during their post-press conference remarks with reporters. But first, you're going to hear from Star Sports columnist Sam McDowell. We chatted about the event and shared our impressions. Okay, let's get started. Well, it was a star-studded press conference, and a few things were
You were
said.
here, I was here.
Well, that's right, and then everybody else.
Yes.
What did you hear today that you scribbled down and may be able to turn into a column at some point? I got a couple things, but I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Well, I think, it's more about what's going to happen, I guess, after the World Cup. That's really interesting to me because I think a lot of what we heard today is selling the event that we already knew was coming to Kansas City. So, they talked about transportation from the airport to the stadium, but also from the airport to the center of downtown, and potentially from the center of downtown to the stadium as well. And those are things that can have long-lasting effects on the city. Like, take advantage of the budget you have for this event and see what impact you can have that outlasts the event. So I think that's probably what piqued my interest the most, because that was something we had not heard before, but we knew, like you mentioned, you can get more into it, just that was going to be a requirement from FIFA.
Right. One thing we heard as candidates were being considered as host cities in the U.S., that Kansas City rated high in so many areas, areas that could host fan festivals, for one thing. Just the enthusiasm that people had for soccer here. And we heard about that time and again from the FIFA officials when they were here in October of 2021 on their site visit. And who do we hear say this? Was it Mike Parson, the Missouri governor, or Mayor Lucas? That, yes, it's the size of the heart that matters, and Kansas City certainly scored in that way. But one area where they did not score well was in public transportation. And I think you can ask anybody who lives in the metro area that, listen, they go to other cities and they can take light rail to the airport or to the ballpark or something. It's never happened here. Yeah. And we're such a spread out city, right? I mean, from the center of downtown, it is 8 to 10 miles to the Truman Sports Complex. Another 10 miles to Legends, where the stadium, where the Speedway and the soccer stadium are. Another 15 miles to the airport to the north, and they've never been connected except by interstate. And so now maybe at least the Truman Sports Complex to downtown to airport we might have a solution to that.
Yeah, because the World Cup comes here, and you only have so many Ubers that can take people to these spots. And there are going to be people internationally. They're not going to be driving here. They're going to be flying in town and need some sort of public transportation. And that's why that would be a game changer for the city itself. And I imagine that this is not a plan, to your point, that they just hatched after they got the World Cup is the best way to do it. This was part of their bid, that they were going to solve this problem. Today's just the first time that we really heard the start of the plan in action for what that might look like, what that might cost. Mayor Lucas was the one that spoke to that, and we got a lot of these people off to the side afterwards, and those were predictably a heavy percentage of the questions that he received afterwards was tell me more what that's going to look like. Is it going to be trains? Is it going to be buses? And he said, all the above are part of the conversation. That's all going to be discussed. He mentioned the streetcar potentially expanding in an east-west way on 39th Street to get to the stadium. So, like I said, today was not a lot of stuff we haven't heard today, but we had more details on that aspect of it than we've had in the past.
And we, as you said, we don't know what it would look like ultimately. Yeah. But it would be an improved situation than what we have now. The other thing that we didn't talk about that I've heard as a possibility is some kind of dedicated lane on I-70 going from downtown to the stadium when the World Cup is here, and maybe on the other side too for Sporting Kansas City's facility used as a training center, base camp. That you might have to dedicate a lane for that.
Interesting, yeah.
Which is something that we've never had to deal with here. I've dealt with it in other cities at big events, but it's never been an issue it's never been needed in Kansas City. Might be needed when the World Cup is here. It may be part of the solution for transportation. The other things, board of directors were announced today, business leaders, politicians. That happened here. And at 2 a.m., a Kansas City, as one of the 16 North American cities, Kansas City's logo, World Cup logo, was unveiled, and that's.
Did you stay up for it?
I didn't. To be honest with you, I forgot all about it when I went to bed last night, and did not set an alarm for 2 a.m. to get it. I guess must have been unveiled in Europe at 9 a.m. or something.
It must have been all coordinated because. I will say the Kansas City logo topped the World Cup logo, but it was a really low bar that the World Cup logo set last night.
I'll trust you on that because I haven't seen the logo. There seem to be some 1970s graphics with this, which oddly enough, but there it is. It's we're looking at it right now what the logos are going to look like. Okay, so what? It's 3 years from about now, right?
Yeah.
The World Cup is going to be in 2026. It's going to start. The start date hasn't been announced. I've seen a championship game date. I don't know if it's official, but I've seen July 19th as the championship game. Kansas City did not find out, nor other cities did they find out how many games they're getting and what days they would be played. But I was told they'll know that by the end of the year. By the end of 2023, Kansas City and other cities will know how many games will be played. I didn't get a sense today, except for all the great enthusiasm that was shown here, that how many games Kansas City will be in line for.
Yeah.
I imagine at the low end it would be 4. At the high end, as many as, 7, 8.
I think that the fact that FIFA's considering, because this is going to be the first tournament that has 48 teams instead of the traditional
104
32.
matches.
Yeah, and they're all considering, changing that group play to where there'd be an extra group stage game too, and that I think would push Kansas City more to that 7 to 8 number as opposed to, I think it's at least 4, right?
Yeah.
And, they're not going to get the semifinal or the finals,
right?
But I think they could max out at getting like a quarterfinal or at least like maybe the round of 16 knockout stage. But I think that is the primary question a lot of the traditional soccer fans have now, like not just the Kansas City fans, but the soccer fans in Kansas City have. And 2 is going to be, once teams qualify, okay, which teams is it? Do you get to see, Kylian Mbappe play right here in Kansas City? That's going to be the stuff that, I think over the next couple of years we're going to be most excited to find out.
And those who want to rent their houses for bed and breakfasts want to find out exactly as well.
Yeah.
A little further down the line, as long as we're talking timelines, will be we are under great assumption that Kansas City will be a base camp for, if not one, then 2 countries here with the facilities that Kansas City
great
has.
Point,
And that's the other big piece of news. That probably won't happen until late 24, late 25, early 26.
Yeah, maybe you know who qualifies.
Yeah, that's right.
It would be great if Argentina would announce they're going to be here and really just put themselves in a corner that they have to qualify.
That's right. You got to be here.
Yeah.
You got all those reservations at the barbecue places.
Yeah.
You better be here. All right, Sam. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Blair.
Okay, we jump right in with comments from Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas, who speaks about an improved transit system for the World Cup and other topics like the possibility of the NHL coming to Kansas City. I'm sure you heard the news lately about the Arizona Coyotes maybe not having a home pretty soon. He also talked about how the city could be more welcoming not only to international visitors for the World Cup, but those who might want to move to Kansas City. After that, you'll hear from Clark Hunt, and he talks about his experiences at previous World Cups, and Sam even sneaks in a question about the Chiefs' visit to the White House next month.
From Arrowhead Stadium to the city center, and more than anything, ways to make it permanent long term.
So what does that mean? More trains, buses? I mean, what are we talking about in terms of moving those people?
You know, right now, we're thinking about just about everything. There's already an east-west streetcar study, as you might have heard about, from the 39th Street corridor, largely at the state line, out to the Arrowhead Stadium area. We're also looking at enhanced, fast bus rapid transit, particularly with that airport to downtown link. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we're trying to look at, largely seeing who can be our allies as we build it out.
Two more questions for me. Cost, and would you go to the voters with something on the ballot?
You know, right now, I think that we have seen a good commitment, $50 million from the state of Missouri. We'll see a substantial contribution, not just from the state of Kansas, but also the city of Kansas City, Missouri itself. And so I don't think we need to go to the ballot on this particular issue. Of course, there are other stadium conversations that are going on at the same time. How that relates to that is a little bit out to see in terms of the future for any number of stadiums here. But for us right now, we're looking at how we can build this out in our normal budget in Kansas City, and certainly how we build up our private fundraising long term. The government side of this will be a substantial contribution, but we also expect private actors, including our team owners, to be a huge part of what's coming ahead.
How much do you think that will cost?
You know, total cost right now, I think I'll leave it to the World Cup board to tell you more about that. But you're already seeing, if you add it all up, in excess of $100 million that the city and other partners and allies in the states are putting into. We just think that, you know, getting $600 million out of it is not a bad return, and certainly the long-lasting brand impressions that we get for Kansas City will continue to grow Kansas City for us.
You said a commission on new Americans is one thing that you introduced. What do you mean by that?
It's to support a few different issues. Some of this is kind of a sports and World Cup story. Some of it's a news story. And right now that we're seeing in our country, a number of folks that are coming anew to our country, immigrant populations and beyond, we're here to make sure how they can integrate, to find ways that we're finding jobs, work permits, housing for people in a more structural way. Something that when we had Afghan refugees come to America and in Kansas City, I don't know if we did as much as we could. So it's making sure, and this is something that FIFA has asked us, how do we make sure that we're strong from a human rights perspective as well? So for us in Kansas City, it is not just doing things that say that all are welcome, although we absolutely believe in that. It's also ensuring that we're actually welcoming people with our resources, with our connections, because what we can't just say is come to Kansas City. We don't have different languages spoken. We don't have ways for people to get around. This is us, I think, taking a key step to building that.
You mentioned just the transportation initiative, but just other initiatives that are circling around the World Cup. What other Kansas City projects are factored in? Obviously, the Royals want to move downtown. Is that factored into something?
So the downtown conversation is an important part of it. It was actually mentioned by Kansas Governor Laura Kelly today. I think we will continue to build density downtown. More housing opportunity downtown is a big part of it. A relationship and a strong relationship with Visit KC. We're currently renegotiating our Convention Visitors Bureau contract. Part of that is how do we make sure that we're selling hotel rooms? How do we make sure that we're sharing kind of where people can go? And one critique that we received from the NFL draft was how do we engage businesses outside of the protected corridors that are a part of it. So for us, trying to make sure with Visit KC, trying to make sure with a commission on new Americans that we're looking at really all parts of it. Entertainment, housing, hotels, visits, and importantly, cultural connections in our city to ensure that anybody coming to Kansas City isn't landing in KC. They can't catch a cab or they can't catch an Uber, have no language capabilities to assist them with that. We're trying to make sure we roll out a full welcome package like you would see if you attend a World Cup in another country.
Do you think the Coyotes have a chance at moving to Kansas City?
I'll say this about NHL hockey. I think that Kansas City always stands ready to talk to anybody who's interested in investing. The T-Mobile Center has locker room capacity built out for the NBA and the NHL. Whether that's something that ends up happening is a conversation about team ownership, what type of investors you have. But as a facility and as a city, we're always ready to have any big chat with the commissioner of any league that might be interested. Yes?
Okay. Talk a little bit about the transportation and what does that entail? I know there's going to be an RFP put out. What exactly are you looking for?
You know, we just said that briefly. What I'll say about transportation is it's looking at bus rapid transit and fixed rail infrastructure in connection with how we can get better to the stadiums and ultimately from the airport to downtown. It is clear to anyone who does business in Kansas City, we have a lot of work to do in that regard. And between now and 2026, I expect us to improve mightily in connection with it.
How does that look different than what we have right now?
Right now, we ain't got a lot, right? We got one one bus route that's mainly an employee bus route, not one that I think is built up largely for our tourists and others. I think for us, what we'll look to build permanently is something that is more fixed, is something where if somebody's coming to Kansas City, they know they have places to go, right, and places where there are good connections that can happen.
What were the big lessons that you took from the NFL draft that you could apply for World Cup?
A few different things. One, I think we need to be even louder about our collaboration with the people of Kansas City prior to the World Cup. I think a lot of people were saying, oh my God, my street's been shut down. What impact on the schools? Those chats need to happen a lot earlier. We need to make sure that we built up the workforce actually in advance. For us, an issue as we came to it was, do we have enough bus drivers? Do we have enough people to work the event? I think it went very well, but frankly, having that laid out earlier is even better. And then I think one final point is, how do you integrate more businesses, more neighborhoods in Kansas City long term? That's going to be the big hit for us. But, I think it's off to the races. Our bid can be as competitive as our bid. Now, our hosting should be as big, as welcoming as anyone else's. A model that I actually look to is the World Cup that was in South Africa in 2010. I spent some time studying there, and some of the towns were not the biggest, but they built up, frankly, new rail lines, new infrastructure that I think worked well and changed communities long term. For us, making sure we do that here in a mid-sized, middle American city is something that I think can be that legacy play. By the way, a lot of people, when they're talking legacy, are thinking back to the 1984 Olympics. You still have foundations that were built back then that are helping support young people, initiatives in LA. I'd like to see us make sure we do that type of work. That's the sort of work I'm looking for Karen Daniel to do and our entire board.
Thank you. Mayor, can we practice your study?
I have a lot of fond family memories from being there with my parents and my siblings. So I'm not going to pick one, but the competition is not only incredible on the field, but the cultural experience in the cities is what really stands out. You'll be in a city to see a game, and you will see fans from 27 odd countries walking everywhere wearing their team's colors and singing and chanting, and it's just joyous, and the passion that they have. And I'm so excited that they're going to get to come to Kansas City and see everything that's great about Kansas City. And I think the residents of Kansas City are going to love having them here. Not only from the economic boost that the city will receive, but it just will be a tremendous cultural experience.
How many differences are you going to have to make in the stadium? Because 3 years is not long away. So how many differences do you think have to make? It's going to be incremental? How's that possible?
So the main modification that has to be made relates to the playing surface. FIFA World Cup field is much bigger than an NFL field, and our bowl was designed for American football, not international soccer. So we're going to have to make the playing surface much larger by taking out some of the seats in the lower bowl. They will be replaced during the football season with temporary seats so that Chiefs fans are not disrupted during the Chiefs season. But it's a process that will take 3 years to accomplish, to make all the modifications, and then, of course, in 26 we'll lay the pitch that the games will be played on.
Are you hoping this is more private, public, or all private? Like, how are you going to go across that?
So it's one of the budget items for the host committee. It was referenced today that the host committee has a contract with FIFA that requires them to do a number of things over the next 3 years leading into 26, and one of those important things are the modifications to the playing field.
Does that include raising the playing surface level? Is that still something that has to be done too?
So we're not the only NFL building that has this problem, because most NFL buildings, the pitches are too narrow for soccer. Some of the stadiums will solve it by lifting the field 7, 8, 9 feet in the air so that it extends out into the seats. We really think the best way to approach is to physically take out some of the seats in order to widen the field.
What was your first World Cup tournament?
It was 1974 in West Germany. I was 9 years old, and I have amazing memories from that tournament. That was during the time of Franz Beckenbauer and the great West German teams. They beat Holland in the final, who was led by Johan Cruyff. It was a special tournament.
Did you go to the final that year too?
We did.
Okay.
We did go to the final.
And it sounds like you've been to 12. You just kind of went almost all of them then?
I've only missed one. We made the decision not to go in 1978 to Argentina just from a security standpoint, but we've been to every tournament since then.
Just something that you and your family enjoyed that much? I mean, is that kind of the primary reason to continue to go?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, nobody in our family in the early 70s was a soccer fan because there really wasn't soccer in the United States. But through the World Cup, our entire family became a huge fan of the sport, to the point where my dad tried to bring the sport to North America and to form the North American Soccer League in the late 60s and 1970s. That didn't work out, but we continued going to the World Cups because we just enjoyed the experience so much. The competition on the field's incredible, but the cultural experience is really what makes the World Cup so special. And then, of course, when '94 rolled around and the opportunity to get back involved with the sport was there, my dad was eager to do it, and so we got involved with Major League Soccer.
And then just wanted to ask you one question about what's your excitement level for having a day at the White House and in a couple of weeks to celebrate the championship at this point?
Really excited about it. Unfortunately, 3 years ago, we didn't have that opportunity because of the pandemic. So I know the players, the coaches, and everybody who's going to be going on that trip's really looking forward to it. It's a great honor. One of the things that signifies that you're a champion of your respective sport.
Last year, football season was going on during the World Cup. Did you have some more? Did you made all the Chiefs games and some of those games?
I did. So we went Thanksgiving week.
Right.
So we attended Chiefs games on the 2 Sundays around that, and went over to Qatar in between. Saw 4 games while we were there. It was really easy to see games in Qatar because
it's all so close,
because
right?
they were all within an hour or 2 drive. Yeah. But really enjoyed it. Didn't know what to expect, but it was a great experience.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to Randy Mason for putting together the episode, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Monty Davis, Jeff Rosen, and Scott Chasen. Tip of the cap to Sam McDowell for sharing his insights. 37 pages today in the morning sports edition, the Star's digital sports page. Check it out at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.